Hello, it's Angie Rice and Janet Semenova with Boutique Travel Advisors. And we're here with Lisi, who's joining us from Moab Adventure Center. Thank you, everyone who joins us weekly or watches us in the replay as we go live in Luxury Travel Inspiration. We formed this group to create a sense of community and to be able to inspire people to travel. I know our travels have changed this past year, and we are traveling closer to home or places where we feel secluded, and in some cases it's avoiding travel that it's avoiding traveling by plane that's determined where you travel. Moab happens to be very close to Arizona. It's a beautiful drive, and it actually ended up being our vacation spot for summer 2020, and we had an amazing time, and I got to meet Lisi and her team and their guides, and we had some wonderful activities. And I think if the West Coast, or if you're looking to drive on a vacation, given that there are different options for how to best arrive in Moab, and Lisi will share that with us today. Really consider Moab as a great opportunity to explore, to be outdoors, and it's a great place to challenge your family and your children to be as adventurous as possible. Lisi, welcome.
Thanks, Angie and Janet. I'm excited to be here and share Moab with you guys. Wish you could all join me here in Moab right now, but hopefully we'll see you guys this summer. Super excited to share the place that I love. I first came to Moab when I was 18 and absolutely fell in love with it. So you can tell, since I'm still around, that it's a life-changing place. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on my presentation here.
I have to just jump on real quick and just say that the first time I went to Moab was on a road trip when I was driving to school with my friend Cassie, and we were driving from Phoenix to Philadelphia and drove through Moab, and I had never heard of it up until that point. I was all of 23 years old and didn't really know much about the West Coast. And when we got there and saw Arches National Park in the background and just the sheer stunning beauty of the place, it was like this light bulb had gone off, and I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea that places like this existed in the world, let alone in America. And it's just one of those places, it literally takes your breath away.
It really does. And what I love about our company is that we can share these places that we love. And maybe you don't normally do rock climbing or canyoneering, but with our guides, we can help you achieve getting outside your comfort zone and trying something new. And like Angie said, really exploring and getting that fresh air being in this canyon country. So as you can see in this picture here, there is so much to do in Moab. Like Janet said, there's rafting, there's rock climbing, there's hiking, there's that Arches National Park and Canyonlands National Park. There is just so much to do. So I'm excited to highlight these opportunities with you today. Here we have Delicate Arch. This is one of the iconic arch in Utah. It's on all the Utah license plates and things like that. And here's another little blip of Arches National Park. Like I said, there's Canyonlands National Park and Arches National Park, as well as a state park called Dead Horse State Park. And I'll highlight those with specific adventures that we have. But it is just a breathtaking place to be and so unique. So here's a little just introduction to Moab, the town itself. As you can see, we're just surrounded by red rock cliffs as well as mountains in the background. And then we've got the Colorado River cutting right through it. And Moab is a great place to explore. We've got a downtown area that is great for shopping and really great restaurants as well. And I will share with Angie our Moab Insiders Guide, and she'll share that with you folks later. But we love to highlight these local businesses that provide great service with, maybe it's a restaurant or really fun artisan crafts and things like that. So you'll have a lot to explore while here in Moab.
It's also a mecca for food trucks.
Yeah, we love our food trucks here. All right, so here are we're at the Moab Adventure Center, and we are located just right in downtown Moab off of Main Street. So we're easy to come to, within walking distance of many hotels and restaurants from downtown. We sell gear and clothing as well as our adventures, and that's my favorite part, right? So I'm just going to go over some of our day trips with you first. First, we've got our Arches National Park morning and our sunset adventures. Both of these tours are 4 hours long, and you really get a feel for Arches National Park. You can go into the park by yourself, and it is a relatively small national park, but going with a guide provides so much information. And what I personally love is I'd been in the park a handful of times before myself, but when I went with our guides, they were able to point out arches from the road that I'd never even seen before, just because they tell you when and where to look. So I found that really interesting. There are over 2,000 arches in Arches National Park, which is just incredible. Next, we've got our Canyoneering Tour. That is one of my personal favorites. I honestly think some of the magic that happens in Moab is when you step outside your comfort zone. And for me, canyoneering is outside my comfort zone. So this tour includes hiking as well as 2 rappels. As you can see in these photos, you walk yourself down the cliff, and the first rappel is 90 feet, and this rappel that's in the photo is 125 feet. And as you can see, right next to the person rappelling over here is this natural bridge called Morning Glory Bridge. And there's also a natural spring at the bottom of this where you can climb up and drink some water. And then we have a beautiful hike out of the canyon. And again, this one is one of my favorites for families who are looking to go outside their comfort zone. The minimum age for this tour is 10 years old. Next, we have, again, I have lots of favorite trips, but rafting does have a special place in my heart. I used to be a guide on this section of the river, and I never got sick of it. I loved it so much. So we've got 3 different options for our day trips just right outside of Moab. So we have our morning half day, our full day trip, as well as a midday half day trip. And our midday tour and our full day tour do stop at Red Cliffs Lodge for a barbecue buffet lunch. And these tours offer lots of opportunities to swim, to play games, as you can see here. You also learn a lot from the guides. They'll tell you about the geology and history of the area. And then you, of course, get to go through some rapids. This section of the river does have Class 1 and Class 2 rapids, but it does depend on the time of year you travel, as well as the snow melt that we have that year. So it does change from year to year. But I know Angie got to do this trip last summer. You want to tell us your experience, Angie, briefly?
It was a really relaxing day on the river. I think it was our first time rafting with our kids, and our youngest son is a little more apprehensive about water, but we had a lot of fun, and you can make it more adventurous from the standpoint you're able to swim in the water. They jumped off and on the raft, and our guide was wonderful. They pointed out various things to look for on the rocks and really gave a nice history lesson on Moab as well. Very engaging for the whole family.
That's great. Thank you. And we were happy to have you. So just a few little facts about this trip. We do require the youngest travelers to be at least 5 years old and weigh 50 pounds at time of travel so that you can fit in the life jackets. And the full day trip is 14 miles on the river, and each half day is 7 miles. So either way, you're getting a beautiful canyon country surrounded by red rocks, and sometimes you'll see wildlife on the river. As a guide, I saw bighorn sheep quite frequently. You see all sorts of birds, birds of prey, great blue herons that are by the river. You'll see some fish jump up sometimes. And one time we saw a deer crossing the river. That was pretty neat. So lots to see and experience on the river. And especially if you're here during the summer, that's the best place to be because it gets so hot. Alrighty, next we have horseback riding, and I love experiencing Moab from a saddle. It is just so beautiful to really get, you feel the horse move under you, you're looking around, there's different smells, you can smell the horse's fur and the leather and some sweat from your own head. It's a classic Western experience. Our Hummer tours are some of our most popular trips, and we offer 3 different options for these. We have a 2-hour tour, a 3-hour sunset tour, as well as a 4-hour grand Hummer safari. And we do have private options for these Hummer tours as well if you're interested in, a secluded tour. The Hummers can fit up to 9 people plus the guide. And what I love most about the Hummer tours is, they're great for people of all ages. We can take kids as young as 3 years old. We do have the clips in the seats for car seats and booster seats. But depending on where you sit in the Hummer, that determines the thrill factor for you. So if you are, you love roller coasters, you want the thrill, then the very back row is the place to be. Whereas if you're a little bit unsure, maybe you're afraid of heights, or you're just a little worried trying something new, the right next to the driver or the middle 4 seats is a great place to be. We also have hot air ballooning tours. These always go out in the morning. They're a sunrise tour, and the dates vary quite a bit, but we are available off and on from April until September. We also offer Jeep rentals. This is the only rental we do, but you can take a Jeep out for a day, and we provide you with a trail guide, a cooler with water, and there are some restricted trails, of course, that are just really technical that we wouldn't want you to go on, but you can just take the Jeep out and explore to your heart's content. We have jet boat tours as well. If rafting maybe isn't calling your name, then you could try a jet boat tour. We have these 3 options: the 1-hour express, 3-hour fun run, and the sunset and dinner tour. You do not get wet at all. It's very scenic. You learn a lot as well. And then we also have a 1-hour spin and splash, and that one you do get wet. This is our dinner and light show, and if you have teenagers or young kids, I honestly wouldn't recommend this tour. But if you're a senior or you just really want a relaxing night out, this would be a great option. You get to eat a cowboy-style dinner before, and then spend 2 hours on this boat going upstream. And as you come downstream, there's a van that shines 40,000 watts of light on the canyon walls that illuminates it, as you can see.
That looks
here.
absolutely magnificent. Oh my God.
It is beautiful.
The
And
sunsets are so beautiful. The rocks just take on so many different colors, and the stargazing in Moab is another highlight for me. It was just so gorgeous to be out there quiet and to have such radiant lights from the sun, and then at night to have the stars. It's just so beautiful, and the rocks truly change colors throughout the day. It's gorgeous.
They do. I love stargazing in the national parks. They're open 24/7, so you can go up night, take a camp chair or an air mattress, and just lay out and watch the stars. It's fabulous.
Yeah, and I think it's important to share with our viewers how the parks are really accessible by car as well as for hikers. They're well laid out and well designed. I was really impressed how easy it was to drive through the parks as well as to stop at different hikes. When we were at the Canyonlands, we kind of broke up our day by doing a multitude of smaller hikes, so that we didn't hear as much complaining of how much longer. There was, ways to break it up, and the views are so much different from one side of the canyon versus the other. So when you do those shorter hikes in a multitude, you get to see so much terrain.
There are some great hikes in both of those. And, if you have kids with you, like you said, you can do shorter hikes that are less than a mile, and you can see some Indian ruins from the ancestral Puebloan Indians that were here. It's amazing. Okay, continuing on, we also have mountain biking, another one of my favorites. Moab has been named the mountain biking mecca of the world. So if you've ever been mountain biking, you're going to want to come. If you've never been mountain biking, I highly encourage you to try it out.
That was my favorite excursion.
Wonderful.
I got to take my husband, who's a little afraid of heights. And we were with a guide that really allowed us to kind of leave our comfort zone, at least his. I was comfortable regardless. It was so fun. I loved it. You have a great couple of guides that we worked with.
And the bikes that we provide are top notch. never want to use my own bike again because the bikes were just so nice. So this photo here highlights Courthouse Loop, which is great for families and beginner mountain bikers. We do want all of our guests to be comfortable using handbrakes and shifting gears, though. So if you've never been on a bike at all, then this probably wouldn't be the best activity for you. But if you are somewhat comfortable shifting gears and handbrakes, then this would be great. We do allow children as young as 5 years old to do this tour. But maybe you have some mountain biking experience, but you don't feel super comfortable. Courthouse Loop is also a great option because there's a whole network of trails in the area. So we start out on an easier trail, and then depending on group dynamics, you could go out and do something more intermediate or moderate. So lots of great options there. Now, if you do have mountain biking experience, I highly recommend Dead Horse Point. This is the state park here, right next to Canyonlands National Park. And as you can tell, the views are just fabulous. This is a single track trail, and there are some technical elements to it, such as rock gardens, some downhill, sharp turns, things like that. So that is why we want you to have previous experience. Next up, we have rock climbing. Again, one of those magic moments of stepping outside your comfort zone. Our guides set up everything so you don't have to worry, but you also get to learn. You get to learn how to tie a figure-8 knot, the lingo of belay, en belay, that kind of thing. So it can be really fun. And one thing I've found that I just love, especially with families or corporate retreats, things like that, is that, you know, maybe one person or a couple people in your group are nervous and they're up there on the wall shaking, or they're having a hard time making the next move. Everybody is so encouraging, and you just cheer each other on. And at the end of the trip, you just have this feel of like, we are all just, you know, happy to be here and high on this adrenaline. And more importantly, we're learning to accomplish our goals and overcome fears together as a group. So that can be really fun for families and other groups.
You know, I want to say too, like, these experiences are so great for bonding and for really just like bringing families together, because you have this challenge, you have a little bit of fear, you have a little bit of apprehension, you're learning something new together. It definitely engages teenagers and, you know, preteens, and gets them off of their cell phones, because it's really hard to be on your cell phone while you're climbing a mountain or, you know, mountain biking, and it's so fun because it creates this really dynamic time together, and the memories last forever. I mean, kids will talk, I've done these experiences, and my own kids, they still talk about it, you know, years later. Remember that day we went rock climbing, and remember how I made it up to the top, and how I was this one up, and all these things. So I just think that these types of things are so special, and they have such a lasting impact.
Definitely. And I will highlight that when I talk about our multi-day trips as well. But from my personal experience, like I said, I came here when I was 18 with my family. And for us, it was kind of our first like real vacation. I say that because my mom's from Florida, so we would always go visit family. So vacation was sitting on a porch in the hot, humid weather, talking with relatives, right? Sometimes we go to Disneyland or Disney World, and that was fun. But this was mind-blowing and obviously life-changing for me. And we did the rafting trip, horseback riding, and a Hummer tour together as a family. And like you're saying, Janet, we still talk about it. And now that I work here, obviously we get to have those experiences more often as a family, but it's just so fun to connect in these unique ways, I think. If you want to see the national parks, but you don't have time to really, you know, hike in depth or something like that, these scenic flights are a great way to go about it. We offer a tour that just goes over Arches for half an hour, or a tour that goes over both Arches and Canyonlands in an hour and 20 minutes, or just an hour flight over Canyonlands National Park. And that one's one of my favorites because you get to see what's called the confluence of the Green River and the Colorado River where they meet. And you get to see the red of the Colorado and the green of the Green River converge, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Okay. Oops. We also have stand-up paddleboarding, which is great. Also one of those things that might put you outside your comfort zone, but with, you know, you just fall in the water if you fall off, which is a lot of fun, especially during the summer months. Very mellow section of the river. There is one little riffle, but not a rapid or anything like that. And the boards we use are extra wide, extra thick. So even if you have terrible balance like myself, it still can be a really fun activity. This is Westwater Canyon. This is a one-day rafting trip, but it is, unlike the other rafting trips I previously spoke about, this is class 3 and class 4 rapids. So a little bit more intense, and it is also further away from Moab. So it's a full day trip. We take you from 7:30 in the morning until around 6 o'clock in the evening, and lunch is provided on the river. We pull over to a little beach and have food there. But if you're looking for an adventurous whitewater trip, but you only have one day, then this is the trip for you. It is a permitted section of the river, so we only have select dates that we have a permit, and each commercial company can only take up to 25 guests each time we have the permit. So it is a smaller group, and we have 2 different boat options. Here in the photo, this is an oar boat, and so the guide is doing all the work. And as you can see, there's a cooler of water, lemonade right there, and the guests just hold on. We also use a paddle boat, and that's where you have the real experience. Everyone's paddling, the guide is yelling out commands, and you really get a feel for technical whitewater, which is a lot of fun. So briefly, I'm going to speak about our adventure packages as well. We have 2 great packages. Our first is our Southwest Sampler, where you stay 2 nights at the Marriott Spring Hill Suites. Oh, I thought I had a picture there, but I don't. Which is a great hotel for families if you're looking to stay in town. They've got a beautiful pool. We do a hike of Arches National Park in the morning, and then a 3-hour Hummer Sunset Safari at night, and then a 1-night camping trip on the river. So we'll raft for 2 days. And this camp is one of my favorite camps of all the different rafting trips I've done. It's called Onion Creek, and you can see Castle Valley and Fisher Towers, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Our other package is called the Westwater Multisport, and with this one you stay at Red Cliffs Lodge, and then you do a 2-hour Hummer tour, and then you do that Westwater Canyon trip. So that's a lot of fun. And then, you know, you can add on anything that you want as well. While you're staying at Red Cliffs, you could go horseback riding, that kind of thing. But for you folks, if you have a place that you want to stay, I know Angie got to stay at Swirl River Ranch before, and that is just an amazing property. If you're staying there, but you want to do activities with us, we can pick you up for the river rafting, so you don't have to drive into town, because Swirl River Ranch and Red Cliffs Lodge, they're kind of outside downtown Moab, about 30 to 40 minutes away. And then you would need to drive into town for other activities, but it is, you know, it's just an experience staying there itself. You know, I would definitely recommend doing some of these activities, but just being out there is beautiful, great for stargazing at night, things like that. Anything you want to say about Swirl River Ranch, Angie?
It's amazing. It's right along the river, and it's fun to watch. And really, there's not a ton of traffic because the river is so long, but you get to see all the families doing different excursions, from kayaking to the paddle boarding. And what I loved about Swirl River Ranch is obviously they're known for service, and it truly is a ranch. So there's horses on property. You stay in very nice luxury cabin-like accommodations. And it was really great for us because we spent a couple of days in the downtown area, and then we retreated for 2 nights at Swirl River Ranch. And my kids loved it. They took the bikes and met with other kids and just rode the bikes around the property. There was a basketball court. They have a pool. They had a barbecue, a lot of outdoor seating. They had entertainment at night. They have a lot of things to keep the family busy. So there's a lot of activities on property. And then certainly as you go about exploring Moab, it's a great place to return.
Wonderful. And while we're on that subject, you know, you mentioned staying in town versus out at one of these ranches. When you decide to come to Moab, you might consider flying in and renting a car while you're here, or flying into a further away airport and then driving here and having your car with you. I do recommend having a car while you're here in Moab. It's not easy to hail a cab. Lyft and Uber aren't really, I I wouldn't say a thing here. I think the locals are just too busy doing other good jobs that they don't want to do Lyft or Uber. So I would recommend having a car while you're here. That way you can go see the national parks at your leisure, that kind of thing. But coming here, there's a couple different options. You can fly to Salt Lake City, Utah, and then drive about 4 hours to Moab, or you could fly to Las Vegas, and then lots of our folks will do the national park loop and hit all 5 of Utah's national parks. It's called the Mighty 5, and then they'll come to Moab. We're in eastern Utah, and that's about a 7-hour drive or so from Las Vegas. You could also come to Colorado first. You could fly to Denver, and then you can actually directly fly from Denver to Moab. We have a very small airport called Canyonlands Field Airport. And then again, I would recommend renting a car from the airport and then just driving around. We do have some shuttles, but it's probably cheaper to rent a car. And then another option is to fly to Grand Junction, Colorado, and then drive about 2 hours to Moab. So all of those are great options, and I will later give you guys a link to a video that we have that kind of highlights some different things to do on your way to Moab if you're coming from Salt Lake, or if you're planning on flying here, what that looks like, that kind of thing. So if you do have any questions about getting to Moab, feel free to reach out to Angie or Janet, and I would be happy to give some suggestions and speak with you guys about what would be the best way to do this. Okay, so wrapping up, I wanted to talk about our multi-day rafting trips as well. So this involves camping on the river, which maybe some of you have never been camping before, but we make it easy and very adventurous. So I'm not going to show this video, but I will send a link to it later so you guys can check it out. So here we highlight what we offer with the camping trips, these multi-day trips. So we provide all the camping gear. You just need your own clothes, a duffel bag, and your own pillow, right? But we provide these cots, the tents, and then you'll see here, these are called dry bags. So this is our large dry bag that you'll put your duffel bag in, and then this is your day bag that you'll have access to while you're on the river during the day. So in your day bag, you'll want to have your sunscreen, a book, sunglasses, camera, that kind of thing. And in here, you'll have your duffel bag with all your clothes and things like that. So we offer 3 different multi-day trips. We have Cataract Canyon, which is on the Colorado River, and then it's where, like I was talking about, the confluence of the Green River and the Colorado River. And whenever you have 2 rivers meet, there's usually rapids after that. And when you have 2 large rivers, like the Colorado and the Green, you have big rapids after that. So Cataract Canyon has class 5 rapids, and it is amazing. So we also cook for you gourmet meals. We have hors d'oeuvres, the meal, and dessert every night. And then, of course, lunch and breakfast. We make sure you guys are well fed. We often have guests say, oh, we're doing the adventurous trip. We're going to be hiking and rafting. We're going to lose weight. And then they find they gain weight because we have such good food. So the guides prepare everything. You get to enjoy each other's company. This is one of those activities where you could meet someone from anywhere in the world and just have this disconnected time from your phone and your email to really connect with people in nature, which is something I love completely. You also get to do some really cool hikes in the canyons to places that there's no way you could get to otherwise. You can't fly here. You can't hike down to these points. This is only from the river up, and you really get to see what it would be like to live here thousands of years ago, which is really cool.
That's
you get
so
to see
amazing.
wildlife.
And did you mention what age you could do this? Is this a good option for families, or is there what's the minimum age?
Of course. So skipping ahead, let me skip ahead. So this is our Cataract Canyon Express trip, which is in high water. It's from mid-May to mid-July. For these trips, you do have to be 12 and above. Okay. And then this is our 4-day trip down Cataract Canyon. Also have to be 12 and above. As you can see here, lots of big whitewater, and we just need that maturity as well as strength to do these trips. And then this is our 4-day Cataract Canyon trip in July and August. And here you're using a different type of boat. So earlier in the season, we use our patented J rig that requires a lot of strength to hold on, whereas this one you get to be in a paddle boat or an oar boat, like I mentioned before, so we can take kids as young as 10 years old. And then we also have Desolation Canyon, which is fabulous for families with younger children. We can take kids as young as 5 years old, again, as long as they weigh 50 pounds at time of travel to fit into the life jackets. And Desolation Canyon is a 5-day, 4-night trip. So again, even if you've never been camping, this is a great way to do it. You don't have to worry about buying any of the gear. We provide everything, and kids love it. And again, this is one of those where I have a video that just highlights it, and I just love these videos. Sometimes they make me cry, but I get the chills every time I watch them. This is one of our...
I'm ready to go. I would like to go right now. What is kind of the starting price point or the mid price point? I know it'll vary, but just to give people an idea of where this falls budget-wise.
Great question, Angie. Let me actually look that up exactly for you. So our Cataract Canyon Express trip is, sorry, I should have got those ready ahead of time for you.
No problem. It just popped into my head, and I'm like, I wonder what the cost is. You know, sometimes it varies so much. So if somebody's watching this on the replay and they're curious, you know, it'd be great to give people an idea. And I love the concept of doing this as a multi-family trip too. Like, how fun, Ange, would it be to grab a bunch of families together, kids who are all friends, especially like middle school, high school age, and do this as a multi-family 4- or 5-day trip. Depending on where you live in the US, from Phoenix, it's super easy. We could essentially drive there. If you live somewhere further away, you would have to fly in. But this would be such a fun experience to grab several families together or do a multi-generational trip if you have really fit and active grandparents or cousins, aunts and uncles, to get a few families together and do this adventure. But I just love the idea of camping and staying super active and sleeping under the stars without really having to do all that work. I mean, I'm not really a camper. I love the outdoors. I love nature. I love everything about being outside, but I don't necessarily want to learn how to set up my tent, break down my tent, you know, all the gear that is required to do a trip like this. To do this with a really licensed, professional, experienced guide who knows exactly where you're going, who knows exactly where the rapids are, where the whitewater is, who knows exactly where you're going to sleep at night. It just gives you that peace of mind so you can really just relax and enjoy the trip and not have to worry about all those little details and nuances and stress. And, you know, so I think that this is just such a great option.
I love that, Angie, or Janet, excuse me. And you're right. It's great to know that you're in the hands of professionals and you get to just be along for the ride, but a very active participant as well. And I do just want to mention that of all the multi-day trips I've done, and like I said, I was a guide before, I have never slept in a tent on one of these trips. I love sleeping under the stars on my cot. So we have the tents there for you, you know, if it rains or anything like that, of course. But I personally love sleeping under the stars. It's a lot of fun. So price for these varies. Our Cataract Canyon 2-day trip is the shortest, and that's around $800. And then the Cataract Canyon and Desolation Canyon, because they are 4 and 5 days, are a bit more expensive. So around $1,000 and up. We do have a youth price as well, and then adult pricing for those 16 and above. Whereas our day trips, anyone 13 and above is considered an adult for the pricing. But these, you know, multi-day trips, especially if you can come with, you know, cousins or neighbors, things like that, is just absolutely wonderful.
And my hunch is that these events sell out. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Sell out.
We do.
So anyone interested in summer 2021 experiences to Moab, now is really the time to start planning. So reach out to us at info@travelbta.com and we can plan these experiences for you. Lisi, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and stay active in the group. And we look forward to you sharing your video so we can further inspire people to travel to Moab.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Angie and Janet. It's a pleasure being here, and I look forward to speaking with you guys in the future.
This is so fun. Yeah, please post pictures and inspirational photos and tips and ideas in our group. We always love to hear new things and get insider scoops. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Bye-bye.